mistletoe more. It's so fucking good.
Let me show you the address.
Yes, that's fine. I only want to run if we run Lucio, like against your stuff.
I mean, I can go to Sun and Warrior Sun. Or you said go to Sun after Mundo?
I don't think Zen Warrior's gonna be rough one.
Well, we can play the next two.
Oh, hug behind, hug behind. Chat, be very quiet.
Oh, thank goodness.
Alright, I want to hold closer, guys. Keep out the mob.
Now we split.
No way! I'm not a young man anymore.
All in.
Come on, put your Nikes on, okay? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Can we push? Can we push? I'm going behind them. Oh, Soldier 1, no! Yes! Yo, there's a hog on the left. Your left.
The tracer here too. No cooldowns on our ult spawn me.
Sorry, I'm back up. Here, guys, just back up.
Three,
I'm
two,
still gonna hold
one.
Arctis.
Soldier up top with ball. High ground window.
Sorry, be careful. Oh my god, nice.
Chat, I love it when they go soldier. Even if they have a mercy, I don't care. Yeah, I'm just dismantling them in the window.
Kill that, bro.
The fuck? Why is my bitrate so low? Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Hello? Test, test, test. Good enough. That's the plan. So I can get this board straight. It looks centered in the camera view. It's all sorts of jacked up. That's still not there, but I think it's close enough. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna do a relatively simple meatloaf recipe. A little spicy, a little sweet, some molasses, some ketchup, tomato paste stuff. In fact, I actually have a thing for this that I should be using. I just don't want to melt my camera, to be honest. I have a cooktop I can use for this. I'm afraid it's gonna melt my camera. I guess I could put it off to the left. Anyways, how are you? I need to wear my glasses. Your text is just far away enough that it's getting blurry. No, it's good. I'm good, man. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for some people to fly in. Not fly in, but, you know, jump into the chat. We'll get started. Gonna have a drink. We'll do a little poll to see what I'm drinking. You want to jump in as well? Not next to the camera. Yeah, no, it's good. It was cold today. We had a big snowstorm. So I went out and I shoveled the neighbors, plural neighbors, cars out because everyone was stuck in. Boston. Not sure if that's incredibly loud or not. Hopefully not. Yeah, I know there was like, what is it, 15 inches of snow? Yeah, 15 inches of snow, which was nice. It was my wife's first big snowstorm. She's from quite a bit further south than Nevada, or Boston for that matter. Should I use my other knife for this? I have a Woolstaff. Sharper. This guy is essentially just my murder knife. It's a whole 2 inches longer. It makes it a bit unmanageable compared to this, but it's nice. I like the rocking action. I have a lot of leverage with it. We'll keep with the downstring. Never lived in the snow. I've only been to Vegas and Reno to see it. I did not know that it snowed in Vegas, to be honest. I assumed it was always too warm there. But yeah, I guess it's about the right latitude to be snowy. Yeah, I went to Vegas one time. It's actually a funny story. I went to Vegas one time to just visit, to have some fun. We're going to be there for 4 or 5 days. The day that I landed, within 2 or 3 hours of me being there, I was so incredibly sick I could not walk. Like I was legitimately stuck in bed. I was vomiting. I was like a giant, or like a very high fever. I was in bed for like the first 3 or 4 days. Finally, like still completely exhausted. But according to the doctor, not contagious. I still have no idea what it was. We went out to. I went out and got a giant slushy, like an alcoholic slushy thing. They call them. I think they call them tornadoes. But it was 4 feet tall and $40 drink or something like that. I took 2 drinks of it and fell asleep. It was a waste of $40. And then the next day we ended up going to like a national park type deal, some famous like rock wall, and I had 3 hoodies on. I was very disappointed when I found out the Vegas sign is in the middle of the city and not at the border of the city. Yeah, we were able to see it a little bit, but again, I was so gone that I don't really remember it. I do remember the lights. So we had dinner the last day at some fancy place with a massive fountain in front of it. Saying a lot. So we had dinner at a place that had a fancy fountain in front of it, and the food was fantastic, but the fountain was so loud that you couldn't hear yourself think. You couldn't speak to anybody. There was music playing with the fountain as well that was just blaring, and it was bizarre. But it was a good trip, as far as being almost dead. And I was hoping, this might be a little bit before your time, but there was a Rugrats episode called Rugrats Go to Las Vegas. And sorry, I was looking at my voice. Yeah, Rugrats go to Las Vegas and they get into a bunch of hijinks in Las Vegas. That's what I always thought it would be, just this crazy place where you can go around and have stuff. But no, it's just like a consumerist hellscape where everything costs $30 or more. Okay, I'm going to get started. We're gonna do some basic mise en place. So we're making mashed potatoes and meatloaf, because that's what the wife wanted. For that, I can't tell what you guys can see if I'm leaned in too far. The board is all the way over here. And I have to lean back so you guys can see me. There's nothing for people my age to do unless we're rich. Yeah. I grew up super poor, and I remember very much playing in like farm ditches, which makes me sound like a curmudgeonly old man. Like, back in my day, we played in the ditch and we liked it. Yeah, I got lucky enough that I found a career that worked really well for me, and my kids are gonna live a lot better than I did. Hopefully they won't be spoiled assholes, but we'll see. And plus, you have Twitch and stuff now. Like, YouTube was just coming out when I was a kid. So, yeah. By the way, how's the stream quality? I'm getting an unstable here. I think my bitrate's a bit too high. We'll see. Get us some bowls. Use these 2 bowls right now. I have 2 bowls here for different mise en place stuff that's going to be browned separately, and then okay, cool. Stuff that's going to be browned separately and then thrown in. I actually do a mixture of 2 things. It's cooked onions and raw onions. So brown onions add, if I have carrots, I'll add carrots, although I don't have any right now. Sometimes like mashed up chickpeas, which I really like inside of meatloaf. It sounds weird, but it just kind of stretches the meat a bit further, just like adding rice or something like that. and then we'll mix it. Oh, and then some chilies in adobo. That'll all go in. It'll be mixed with Worcestershire sauce and the beef and whatever else we can use as a filler. Again, trying to make it stretch as much as possible, just because there's, for one, a beef shortage and it's expensive as shit right now. Okay, well, let's get started. Let's. I have a piece of garlic right here that is looking pretty good. Shallot that needs to go. I have an onion. So again, this onion's going to be, half of it's going to be cooked and half of it's going to be put in raw. I feel like that gives a nice textural change. You get kind of crunch of, it's going to be cooked into the meatloaf, right? But you'll get a crunch of more raw onion. It's nice. And then I grew up having breadcrumbs in my meatloaf as well as just straight up ketchup. I'm not going to do that today. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. It helps to soak up some of the fat, and it helps to, it will bind it together more, so it'd be a denser texture. And that's good, I guess. Okay. Weird looking onion, man. Get started here. I'm holding this like an idiot. Don't ever hold a knife like that. Hold the thing that you're trying to cut like that. Cool. Onion's looking healthy enough. Oh, another cool tip is to keep a throwaway bin with you, so you're not constantly leaning over to the trash can. Also, since this onion's a little on the older side, we're going to take off an extra layer of it, just to help. Because especially on older onions, the outside layer that looks like fresh, nice onion is kind of chewy even after you cook it. It's been exposed to the air for too long. And also just makes it easier to peel when you're ripping off a whole layer. I realize you guys can't see that. Yep, so there are 2 halves of onions here. Let's go board. Do an audio check really quick as well. Sorry, you're gonna hear a bit of reverb. It sounds alright. It doesn't sound as good as my other one. Good. Yes. Yeah, this mic doesn't sound the best. I need to tweak it a bit. The other one I spent a lot more time with, but this one I can't hear. So, I'm kind of at a loss. So for the onions that I'm going to cook, they are going to be a fine dice. And for the onions that are going in raw, it's actually going to be, I'm glad you like it, 6. I honestly just looked up royalty-free jazz, so I didn't get DMCA takedown again. Okay, so yeah, this one's going to be a fine dice, and this other one's going to be a bit larger, because when you bite into it, when you cut into it, I kind of want it to pull away, and it'll help just keep it in that closer to raw state for longer. So a fun tip that I like to show people is when you're cutting an onion, think of it like this, right? Instead of, so when you're doing your radial cuts, normally you do bam. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so normally you do bam, 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 all the way just straight down. What you really want to do is you want to aim for a point about an inch, maybe half an inch below the onion, and tilt the blade of your knife towards that. So going here, 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 and then straight up and down, and slowly straight up and down. And again, you're just aiming towards that point. Let's give it a try. And again, since we're going, ooh, this goes. Since we're getting a finer dice on this one, I'm following my own tip. This knife needs to be sharpened so bad. It's dire need. Yep, so you'll see the way that I'm holding this is a bit on the safer side, especially for these flat cuts. You never want to cut in a way that the knife could jam up into your hand. So keep a firm grasp on it. In fact, we'll move it to the edge of the cutting board. It's going to be hard for you guys to see. But I'm placing my hand fully on the onion, letting it kind of cup into the center, and then I'm lifting my fingers up. Making sure that looks good. Sometimes you kind of have to pinch it to get the cut started, and then just go back to that default safe state. And also, like, some people want to look super fancy when they're cutting shit, but like, the most important part is just making sure that you are safe. And a good way to do that is this claw grip. See how none of my fingers, so the knife can slide up and down infinitely on this finger. You just keep your claw grip. It'll give you a good grasp on the thing that you're trying to cut. And none of your digits can be unceremoniously removed from your body. Just put this to a bowl really quick. We're already running out of space here. Also, I'm not crying, you're crying. My wife's laughing at me. Don't make fun of me, you're too scared to come on stream. Even though you look gorgeous. For these, I'm kind of torn on how I like to cut the base after it's gone a little bit too far, because there's no longer any safe place to grab this without it tilting and possibly jamming your finger. So you want to switch over. Some people will do another radial cut. I don't like that as much, so we're just going to shave it off. Try not to waste much. And then this goes back into the waste. And we're just gonna like chop that shittily. Throw this in here. All right, so those are the onions that we're going to cook. They're gonna go in first-ish. Actually, what I need to do is preheat the oven to 375. 375 is a good starting point. It's hot enough to caramelize the sugary, molassesy outer edge. I don't, because I feel, so I do have a pair of Kevlar gloves when I'm doing things like butchering, stuff that is using an incredibly sharp and flexible knife. If you hit a bone while you're butchering with the, with the flexi knife, I don't have, this is the closest one that I have. And this is technically a long butcher knife, right? And it's meant to carve around bone, which is why it's flexi. So imagine you have like a fillet knife, something that's meant to carve around bone for butchering a large, like a leg of lamb or something like that. It can hit a bone and flex up and then catch your hand. So if I'm doing something like that, I will absolutely wear a Kevlar glove, at least on my offhand. The only issue with that is you no longer have the grip that you need. Some of them have like rubber tips on them, but they still don't do a lot. And there's nothing like, even like grabbing something wet with your hand will still grip it, unlike rubber gloves or latex gloves. Yeah, I mean, it's just a preferential thing. Also, why am I trying to cut with this? For this, remember we wanted big bites, so we're doing 3 cuts, and then we're gonna cut larger strips, a larger dice on it. Sorry, I need to turn my Discord off. It is bugging the hell out of me. Yep, so we're doing larger, third moons, and here we can kind of reach it. This is stupid and dangerous. Don't do this. Yeah. It's cooking. It's not science. You can kind of just smash shit. Okay, so those are the ones that are going to go into the meatloaf raw. because yum. Again, we're looking for textural difference here, right? So the more we can do to get that textural difference, the better. All right, time for the garlic, which I will put in a tiny bowl. Garlic bowl, and I'll, just because I like the sweetness of shallots, I'm also going to do a shallot, although it's, maybe I'll do sage. I have sage. Yeah, I'm going to do garlic with the sage. Anyways, so easiest way to smash a piece of garlic, this is going to be scary, but place your knife flat on it, and you're going to smack down, right? Be as firm as you can, have your hand as flat as you can. The knife has no way to cut you, right? Because it can't really go either way easily. And make sure it's kind of on the back side of your knife just a little bit. So if the knife does shift, it's going to shift down, and it will catch on the guard. So you're just going to give it a big old boom. This peels the garlic. You got a little nasty spot there. This peels the garlic, and it makes it easier to chop because it's not rolling around on you. But you will smell like garlic forever still. That is a good use for the gloves. I have a slightly nasty piece on that garlic, but it's not going to matter so much. Now, there are some what I would call sacrilegious ways to add. So we were talking about textural differences, right? You can add, if you add breadcrumbs, it will actually tighten the structure up. Adding these onions is going to give a bit of crunch to it. Some people I've seen put like shishito flakes or something like that, or just, like fish flakes on top when making like a super funky hippie meatloaf. The goal is that when you bite into it, you want to have a lot of different textures, because otherwise you're just eating a big loaf, something monotonous. Even if the flavor is really good, you're missing out on a lot of potential experience. And then we go into the flavor, and then we can talk about shishito flakes there as well. Adding some sort of meaty aspect in addition to the beef, something that opens it up a bit more. Sometimes you could do mushrooms, you could do anchovies, you can straight up just use MSG. Something that just amplifies the meaty flavor is going to help a lot. In this case, we're actually doing adobo sauce inside the meatloaf and on top of it with the chilies. Chilies and adobo sauce inside and on top. And that's going to be like pureed, essentially. I'm going to use a knife, but it'll be pureed. And spread on top with molasses and ketchup. But yeah, just adding those different flavor components, something that will give your mind something to be confused about. Like you can add a bit of acid, which you'll get from the tomatoes. Again, salt, MSG, fish, not fish paste, anchovy paste, anchovies, mushrooms, whatever you can do to just add that extra layer. Speaking of extra layer, while this is happening, I need to cut up mashed potatoes. I don't actually like to peel my potatoes, but I think the wife likes it. Peel them really quick. So this is for the mashed potato element. We're gonna get them boiling. They don't have to boil for a long time because these are pretty small. Obviously, if you're boiling a ton, you gotta get started in advance. But I think we're gonna be just fine. Let's do a good old 5 potato mash. 5 baby potatoes, 6 baby potatoes? 6 potatoes? Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, I said she's gonna take it for lunch tomorrow. These are the best peelers in the world. You have to take extreme care of them, but they come in a 3-pack, so you can you don't have to baby them. But they have to be hand washed and they have to stay dry constantly because it is a carbon steel. This is Kuhn Recon from Switzerland. It is the sharpest peeler I've ever used. Certainly, even though it looks cheap, it is the most comfy in the hand. But it just cuts through anything without any real problem at all. I actually... It's funny, I'm not even sure if I should talk about this. I was incredibly depressed a couple of years back. And the way that I coped with it was learning to cook. To the point where I absorbed myself into books. I watched every YouTuber that was around. That was like beginning of Binging with Babish, who's a fantastic creator. I was reading the now defunct Bon Appetit magazine constantly. I got it every month. And it was a good way to disconnect and feel just better. It gave me something to create outside of, my day job, which was programming. And I had a really cool experience because before I left California, the last 3 months that I was there, I was given the opportunity to cook at a restaurant right next door to my apartment. And not only that, I was taught about like ordering food, doing prep, checking everything in the fridge, making sure it was fresh. I learned a lot while I was there, in addition to just like order of operations, which isn't so important in a home cooking setting. As you see, I forgot to do the potatoes first, which they should have been. But in a restaurant situation, it kind of really matters, the order in which you do things. But I think the biggest thing for me right now, the way that I learn most of my stuff is by just reading books. You can find a ton of them online for free, or you can obviously get the paperback. But Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat is really good. There's a Boston Public Library, Boston College cookbook from like the 60s or 50s that has a ton of great information in it. And then the rest of it's just about, it's been a couple of years that I've been making stuff, and I made incremental changes. I was trying to incrementally get better. I would pick up, like, all right, well, today I'm going to try to make something with a roux, which is a emulsion of fat, flour, and a water-based liquid of some sort, usually milk or just water. Rather, the roux is just the fat and the flour, and then it becomes the bechamel if you add milk, or a gravy if you add water or stock. Yes, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's a pain in the ass. So as you can see, I couldn't tell which camera. This is my good camera where my hands are. I'm using a shitty camera right here, and then my shitty mic here. And then when I'm all done to prepare for my Saturday stream, I have to set it all back up at my desk. But I bought all the stuff that I needed to for this. I have lights. I have an induction cooktop that I can place here that I didn't want to use today because it just gets super hot. Yeah, it's something that I want to do, to say the least. If it gets a huge response, there's a decent amount of people watching right now, but if it gets a good enough response, I plan on doing like recipe series, or maybe like I'll have polls on my Twitter on what you guys want me to cook. And honestly, like, a lot of the fun is going to be fucking it up. Because even after cooking for a bunch of years, I still fuck shit up constantly, especially if it's new stuff. And I think that's going to be a great learning experience for both you guys and myself. Both because I will have to keep my temper in check. And I think it's okay to admit defeat and order takeout. I'm sorry, I'm getting a work message. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness. Band. I don't have bands. So the Twitter is the Wandering Scholar Live, I believe. I'll share. I'll set up a Nightbot command for it. Give me one moment. I don't want to touch my computer with starchy hands. What was I saying? Yeah, so I think it's going to be a great learning experience for myself and you guys. Like I said, considering how many people come by and whether or not you guys have recipes that you want to see. I do plan on, Binging with Babish just released a video on Stollen, which is a German holiday bread, and I really want to try to make it. I might do that on stream, although it's going to be a two-part process where I make it, and then we have to let it rise, so I come back again in like 12 hours. I turned off my link prevention, but I need to set it so followers can link or something, some level of protection, because that's ridiculous. Luckily, links don't show up in the scrolling chat feed. So I'm leaving one potato with the skin on, and just because I like it, it gives some difference in color. You'll see I make almost vegan mashed potatoes. I love butter, so I have to use it, but we use, instead of milk, we use oat milk. It brings a nice texture, and we don't put anything else weird in it. Just actually a lot of butter, like a whole stick of butter. Oh yeah, tamales are amazing and amazingly hard to make. I tried to learn one time and they came out soupy. That makes sense. You opened it up and it spilled out. I still don't know how that happened. The masa flour didn't work. Masa flour, just masa. Okay, so we have these. We're actually going to get our induction top set up. We're gonna boil it there. No, we're gonna boil it on the stove. Pull the beauty onto the screen. The light here is horrifyingly bad. Does your grandma, or was it great grandma? Yeah, does your great grandma make tamales for you guys often? Actually, we're gonna sneak a bit of this garlic in here to boil with the potatoes to kind of season them. And then the rest of that single clove is going into the meatloaf. There's nowhere near enough garlic for a meatloaf, but you do what you gotta do. Sorry, I'm just filling my pot with hot water. She makes them on holidays, but she mainly makes us pies like every other week. I am so incredibly jealous. Okay, so in this case, just because I have so few potatoes, I've just barely covered the potatoes with water. And we're gonna do a slow, it's gonna be a rolling boil on these, because I wanna take my time. I wouldn't recommend putting salt in them here. When we mash it up, it's gonna become, we'll be able to salt it and get the salt mixed, mixed all the way throughout. If you were cooking, say, like a steak, you'd wanna make sure to salt it early, so the salt can penetrate deep down. But since, again, we're mashing this, you can get whatever flavor you want mixed throughout the entire thing. And what is my favorite thing to make? That's a great question. I don't know, what's my favorite thing to make, babe? I have a recipe collection that I might share with you guys eventually. What's that? Bread? Yeah. I love baking bread. Okay. Are you playing a computer? I love baking bread. That's what the Stollen is. It's like a sweet, sweet fruit loaf. Kind of like fruit cake, but not terrible. Filled with marzipan. What else? I love baking pizza. I have like a $90 pizza stone that was way, it's not worth that much at all. But something about taking care of a sourdough starter and making bread or pizza, bread of any kind. I love making focaccia. I love eating focaccia more. Stuff that takes time is kind of what I like the most. It gives me time to think and it gives me time to plan. I need to look at the camera when I'm speaking. It gives me time to plan what I'm going to do. Like challah, which is a Jewish celebration bread. You have to plan out how many folds you're going to do, how many ties you're going to do. You have to let it rise multiple times. You have to make sure that you have enough dough to get the shape that you're looking for. And it's just a ton of fun to plan out, honestly. Other than that, the simple meals are a ton of fun as well. Stuff that I can just throw together, like a chili. I just like this. I don't need a recipe for this. I don't need a recipe for chili. I can just kind of do it. That's the same for bread. I can bake like a basic white loaf without looking at a recipe. I can do it by feel. But stuff that I can kind of riff on, stuff that I can explore with, it's all really fun. Yeah. You said conchas? Conchas. No, challah? Is that what you're talking about? Challah? Remember, I might have said conscious. I don't know what conscious is or are. What are conscious? Hey, Google. Oh my god. We found a snowman potato. Is it not centered? Oh, it's because I have this camera cropped weirdly. Oh, by the way. Frosty. You should try conchas. It's a Mexican bread with sweet-like powder that sticks on top of it to make it sweet. Oh, interesting. Let's take a look. I wonder Oh, I've definitely had this before. There is a fantastic Mexican bakery in Chicago that I've been to a couple times. Hopefully it didn't shut down because of the pandemic or, for anything else. But I tried this there and it was fantastic. Same with, we had like a spicy a spicy croissant, like a spicy chocolate croissant. It was one of the better croissants I've had in my life, and I'm a croissant aficionado. And yeah, I'm not sure what that is, to be honest. I don't feel like looking at a recipe right now, just because I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. No. Yeah. It almost looks like a marzipan, or something like that. Like a sugar paste. Yeah. Go away, Frosty. Alright, now we need to prep. We'll get the meatloaf mix ready, but we're also going to start frying the onions, which I'm going to pull this down. We are going to try to cook on the induction top today. Why not give you guys a view of what the hell's going on? We're just going to do it off center, so the heat rises past the camera and not into it. Yeah. You might occasionally hear me speaking Spanish, or what sounds like Spanish, but it's actually Portuguese because my wife is Brazilian. Can you guys see this? Oh, that looks like shit. Cool. This is good enough. I mean, if I get it too close, it's going to be pouring heat right onto my lens. Okay, let's get us a skillet of some sort. We're going to use the baby because we're not doing a lot with it. Here's the baby. This one is an All-Clad. It's a fantastic brand. They're just too expensive to keep around. This one is their egg pan. It's actually one of my favorite pans. Just immediately blowing. Oh, that's that beep. Okay. Cool. Why is that vibrating so much? Okay, so it's getting hot for sure. Can you hear that? Because I imagine you can. That's the sound of the magnet being a magnet, or the electromagnet being an electromagnet. Can you guys hear the sound of the magnet? Let's see if okay, I think yeah, thank you, babe. I think it's drowned out by the jazz music, to be honest. Alright, well, this is getting hot. We're gonna do this with a neutral oil. So normally I'd use olive oil. We're gonna do this with a neutral oil because we don't want to add any flavors that maybe wouldn't mesh well with the meatloaf. So neutral oil being like canola oil or vegetable oil, or you know, maybe flaxseed, although it has a nutty flavor to it. But yeah, let's do vegetable oil. So we'll do a bit here. Where'd you go, Six? Where'd you go? Add our onions now. It should be hot enough. Oh, here. Yep. The salt here is going to help it. The salt here is going to help draw the moisture out, which will help it brown a little bit faster, supposedly. This is another one of my favorite kitchen tools. It is an early wood spatula scraper thing. I feel like 20, 30 bucks. I use them for every meal. It's great for chopping stuff, you know, as you're cooking. It's great for stir fries, although sometimes I lean towards chopsticks instead. It's super delicate on pans, and it's just kind of a pleasure to use. Also, especially this big one, it's a really good scraper. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Turn this heat down a little bit. We're not trying to burn the onions. Again, we're just trying to get some of the moisture out of them. My chat break. Sorry, just looking at my Discord. Okay, back to it. Give me 1 second on that. I realize that if I want to, you know, do an audio check, my headphone cable's like 20 meters long. Test, test, test. That's good. Yeah, I like it. I thought it was sounding crunchy. The music is definitely too loud though. Definitely too loud. I thought it was sounding crunchy. It's just this $2,000 Razer computer. For one, it's a piece of shit. But the speakers especially are shitty. Also, we're getting way too much color on these. We're going to turn the heat down again. We want these to slowly cook. If they look like they're going to burn, we're going to add some liquid to this, just to slow it down a bit. Once these are done, we're going to start cooking our chilies. Or not, we're going to start chopping up our chilies, I'm sorry. What does that sound? I hear a vibration. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh hey, there's a MSRP priced RTX 3070 that hasn't sold out somewhere. My bot just told me. All right, so we're at a better temperature now. The onions are just losing some of their moisture. They're, it's starting to caramelize, really just like, simplify the sugars. They're complex long chain sugars in there that are breaking down into short chain sugars. Something you'd see like, adding granulated sugar is a very simple sugar. This is breaking down into that, and that's how you get like onion soup or just, caramelized onions anyways, which is an amazingly deep flavor. We're not taking it that far. We're just taking it a little bit farther, and then we're going to take a small break. Then we're going to start chopping up our chilies, which looks like a murder fest. And then we'll start mixing everything together into the meatloaf. Over here, actually. Oh, yeah. So French onion soup is what it's called. French onion soup is a couple bags of onions diced into long strips, kind of like what I did here. Maybe, actually, I would do full length. So you just cut the onion in half, and then do long radial cuts that way, or long perpendicular cuts that way. You then add it to a pan on a very, very low heat, and you cook them for a much larger pan than this, obviously, because you want some surface area. But you cook them for, I think it actually tastes best when it's cooking for a couple hours on a super low heat. Make sure you're not like scorching them at all. See how I have some brown bits in mine? That will, I think, ruin it personally. But just keep on cooking it at a super low temperature till they caramelize. And then you add it together with a usually beef stock or duck stock or some sort of stock, preferably homemade. And then you put cheese and bread on top of the soup that you just made. And then you throw it under the broiler to let the cheese brown on top. And there's other stuff in there, but that's the basic thing of it. It is one of what I would consider the fine, like peasant, French peasant food, something like confit di vialdi or ratatouille or whatever. It is what I consider a fine French food, something that spawned an entire genre of cooking, and what was ultimately like a necessity cooking thing. Some of the best foods were born out of necessity, and that is one of them. You have a ton of onions lying around that might be going bad soon. You have to do something with them, so you can essentially candy them, which is maybe that's not the best example, but you're finding a way to preserve them. You can can caramelized onions, where you cannot can fresh onions unless you add a shit ton of salt. I love to make ratatouille, actually, and the wife loves it too. Maybe I'll make that on stream soon. It's a ton of fun. Yeah. Anyways, these are almost done. Dog hair. Yeah, it's a ton of fun to make. You have to make a... The movie is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. The wife just saw it, actually. I should just call her by her name, but you guys don't know my name. What do you want your internet name to be? Mrs. the Wandering Scholar, because they don't know my last name. Mrs. the Wandering Scholar. Yeah, so it is salted, thinly sliced, kind of thinly sliced, like a quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch sliced veggies on top of a puree. I do a sweet potato puree with some sort of veggie stock, like mushroom stock or something like that. And then it is tossed. I usually top it with more of the sauce, like more of the puree, and you roast it, right? You can lay it out in whatever way that you want to. It was originally made just chopping it up. And then as it kind of progressed, obviously you have people trying to make it look good. So you do the dice and then you cook it in the ring, just like the movie did. And it's beautiful. And it's a really, really healthy vegetarian dish that especially in the summertime when you have fresh tomatoes and, you know, fresh onions, fresh everything. It is unbelievably flavorful. I can't speak. Unbelievably flavorful. Okay, these onions are actually done. Again, we've gotten a little bit of color on them accidentally, but they've released all of the water that they're really going to release. So we're going to put this back in the bowl that they were in. If I can make some space for myself. And then we're going to take a short break. Stop it. Yeah, I'm aware. I took the pan off. Turd. This thing is kind of lackluster, but it was the cheapest one on Amazon that didn't look like it was going to burn my apartment down. Actually, if you're like trying to get into cooking, that's a really slightly dangerous but relatively easy dish to start with, right? You have to learn a lot of different techniques, like making a sauce. Maybe that's not the thing that you start with, but you know, it's something that you can make within your first couple months of cooking for sure. And if you fuck it up, vegetables are cheap. Like, it's not like a super expensive rack of lamb that, you know, costs you $70. Of course. That was unexpected. Okay. This is still cooling down. We're actually going to go on a short break. I'm going to go make my drink now that the hard part's over. And we'll get back to it. Okay, we are back. Cool down enough. Plug it. We're gonna store it back up. Cool. All right, so checking the potatoes. They're slowly boiling. So I'm just testing the potatoes to see what their doneness is. You can kind of just poke it with a knife, and you'll be all right. So how did this shift again? Let's get the Christmas tree in the picture. Cool. Yeah, so you can just poke the potatoes with a fork or knife. I am 6 feet exactly, actually. Do I look 5'9"? How tall are you, babe? My wife is 5'1". I'm 6 feet exactly. Although I think because the camera's above me, it makes me look shorter. I like to have it at eye level, but I think it looks like shit with this camera. And I can't get the right angle. There are some interesting psychological reasons why you would have it at eye level. It makes your chat feel closer to you. God, this camera is such hot shit. It's just not good at all. Yeah, I'm tall. I'm not tall. Like, I'm not a giant, but, you know, I'm above average. Both height and weight, because I like beer a lot. Okay. Fucking focus. We're going to stab our potatoes really quick, violently, with a tiny knife. Little baby paring knife. It is going through them, but there's a bit of resistance. I want them to be a little bit more done. We're also cranking the heat up to 425. I realize that it's getting late and I want to eat. Oh, and I'm supposed to get a drink. What are we drinking? Did you lose? Oh, I've just lost at chess. Alright, this is Empress Gin. Also, drinking's bad for you. Don't do it. Yeah. I think she got whatever was in her system out. Good girl. Come here. I wonder if they can see you if you jump up. Okay, get up here. Good girl. Good girl. Can they see you? Oh, they can see the top of her head a little bit. Hi. Good girl. Okay. We have our gin, which isn't the best pairing with meatloaf, but I think it's going to look cool on camera. Beautiful. Nice purple color. Still don't know why it's purple. I'm not sure if they're adding purple food coloring to it. Or if it's like blue corn or something to make it. Who knows? Don't they make gin with corn? I know vodka is made with potatoes sometimes. Vodka potato. Comrade. Okay, so let's get the meat started. One thing that I liked... Oh, we're going to chop our peppers. Derp. So the chilies that I keep around are these Ambassa chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. If I were to give it a flavor profile, it would probably be like a spicy, mild barbecue sauce. Mild in... Oh, God. Wasn't expecting that. Mild in flavor, not in heat. So have no nails. So let's pop this bad boy open. The reason I cut these last is because this is going to paint my cutting board red. But we'll throw a couple of these in there with the paste. Then I'm going to throw the rest of it into a container. Let's do this. These are an amazing way to add a bit of spice and a ton of flavor to your meal. I'm actually adding 3. And then I'll add some more of the juice, the adobo sauce in after. And then you kind of just want to do we're going to do a relatively fine chop here. Wish you guys could see this better. I wish I had a secondary camera pointed at the side. I'm just making it one solid consistency, or trying to, as opposed to having free flowing peppers in the meatloaf, giving you a massive bit of spice. This is going to be intermixed throughout the entire thing. And now you have me thinking, what the hell is gin made from? Hey Google, what is gin made from?
According to Craft Gin Club, gin is usually made from a base of grain, such as wheat or barley, which is first fermented and then distilled.
Huh. Also, that played on my stream, which is primo. Jesus, the focusing on this camera is just the worst. This is another fun knife technique to learn. The goal being to put a bit of pressure on the tip of the knife. You'll find the right point, but since my knife rocks, I usually keep it a little bit forward. You're creating a pivot point, right? So when you're at the top of your stroke, I twist my knife sideways, and I continuously do that, and then rock down back on the pivot. Also, another good tip, and I know a lot of people like to hold their knives like this. This actually is dangerous because the knife can twist in your hand, and it's just not comfortable. You're going to give yourself carpal tunnel. The real proper way to hold the knife is to pinch the front of the blade and then wrap your fingers around. That way, there's no fucking way this knife can twist sideways on me. Also, the knife then, instead of your wrist being crooked like this, it creates one long line. I know you can't really see it, but it creates a long line from your elbow to the tip of the knife, which gives you a lot of control, and it's just comfy. Some fancier knives sometimes have divots where the thumbs go. I don't like those very much because it makes it just harder to clean properly. It might just be me though. So this is a good paste consistency. I think I'm going to take it a little bit farther because I really want it to be emulsified into the meatloaf. Cool. I see how it kind of made a big old bloody mess. You can't really see it because the contrast is turned down on this, but also this stuff is spicy and delicious. Okay. This is actually going to go in to here because I don't feel like doing more dishes. I know my wife certainly doesn't. Not that she would have to. We're just going to put all of our kind of cooked and prepped ingredients in one place. In fact, I can probably combine this in the bigger bowl. Okay. I'm going to wipe my hands off. Rinse and wipe my hands off. Also a good tip, don't touch your eyes after doing this. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. Or, you know, any other parts that you care about. Okay, we're gonna wipe our surface off. Test our potatoes. Our potatoes are perfect. I'm gonna turn the heat off because I'm not ready for them yet. And we're gonna strain them, and we're gonna start the mashing process, which I can do here after I wipe it down with paper towels that are inexplicably missing. Did you move the paper towels? Did I move the paper towels? Oh, there they are. Dude. What do I feel like? Oh, the music stopped. I was like, it's quiet, right? It's not over yet. Switching it out. It's not very loud. Cool, okay. We're just doing some cleanup now, and then we're gonna start mixing the meat. The meat is still in the fridge. I happen to think that handling it while it's cold and handling it as little as possible leads to a better texture because there's fat inside of it and just the warmth from your hands. Turn myself up. There's fat in it that the warmth from your hands will melt and it will tighten the texture up even more. So you want to keep that as cold as possible, just like if you're making biscuits or something like that. You want to keep the butter and the biscuits as cold as possible. If you don't, it will run out and you won't get flakes. You'll just get, you know, a flavorless, you know, hard rock of biscuit. Cool. Let's get it started. Okay, we have 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Give it a smell test. Fine. Meatloaf is another one of those interesting things that I don't know what the origin of it is, but I'm guessing that it's American, North American in origin, and it is something in the middle of a like famine dish and one of those necessity / celebratory meals. I don't really know where to place it because it's incredibly simplistic. It can be beautiful. In this case, it will be because I'm making it. And it doesn't use a ton of ingredients. Yeah, it's somewhere between, like I said, that famine meal and like a celebratory meal. Like maybe it was hard to get, fowl or something, like some sort of fowl like turkey or chicken for some holiday because of war or something like that. It's actually, I'm curious. Let's look that up. Origin of meatloaf. I was wrong. Meatloaf is a dish of ground meat that has been combined with other ingredients and formed into the shape of a loaf, then baked or smoked. Smoked meatloaf is delicious. The final shape is either hand-formed on a baking tray or pan-formed by cooking it in a loaf pan. It is usually made with ground beef, although ground lamb, pork, veal, venison, poultry, and seafood are also used, sometimes in combination. Vegetarian adaptations may use imitation meat or pulses. I don't know what pulses are. I'm not going to click deeper into that. The cooked loaf can be sliced like a loaf of bread to make individual portions. It is made by adding breadcrumbs and egg, and because the dish can become dry, various techniques exist to keep the dish moist, like covering it with sauce or wrapping it. We'll be covering ours with sauce, or using moisture-enhancing ingredients in the mixture, filling it with fatty meats, such rich cheeses or vegetables. We're doing the vegetables, hence the wet onions, or the raw onions and the cooked onions. And I did forget about the egg. Good thing I looked at this because I totally forgot about it. Egg's another one of those things that's going to help it stay together. It shouldn't tighten it up too much. Okay, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna add our breadcrumbs. All I have is Italian flavoring. Don't do that. This is all they have at the store. Buy yourself some plain breadcrumbs and selectively choose your spices, because this is a shit ton of oregano, paprika, granulated onion, yeast. Oh yeah, granulated garlic, salt, spice. What does spice mean? Caramel coloring. Yeah, it just, the spice blend is completely unknown to me. You're going to add this. Use my spatula because I don't want to touch the meat very much. We can start the mixing process with this, but it will end up with our hands. We're gonna add our egg. Oh, I wanted to save some of that chili paste for the top. I'll chop up some more. It's gonna be good regardless. I unfortunately cannot crack an egg with one hand, embarrassingly enough. All right, so this is where we're gonna want to add our salt. This is a decent amount of meat, so we're gonna lean in to the salting of it. We did add a bit of salt to the onions, but that's not gonna make a huge difference. Oh, and we're going to add these cooked onions. Cool. It's all coming together, folks. Another pinch of salt. And let's get started with our spice mixture. I'm gonna do a bit of mustard powder. Oh, mustard powder. No, they design these terribly. Okay. It's like a half a teaspoon of mustard powder. I'm sick of shaking this thing. There we go. A little bit more than a half a teaspoon. That sounds loud. We're gonna do some thyme, just to lean into this already Italian flavoring. We'll do a teaspoon and a half, a decent amount. You wanna make sure you taste it. When I first started cooking, I spent a lot of time adding spices and then wondering why they didn't really come through, and it was too delicate. You kind of have to lean in more than you think. Like when you look at recipes, they'll say like 2 tablespoons of a spice, which sounds like a lot, but when you add a spice, you want to make sure you taste it. Unless it's something like, not za'atar, but sumac, right? Sumac is a weird flavor, and if you add it, you only add like a pinch. In fact, I might add some here, who knows? We're gonna do a test. We'll fry this off really quick, give it a taste test, see where we're sitting. So I added thyme, mustard powder, we're gonna do, I'm gonna do a lot of pepper. Ton of pepper. Ton of pepper. Make sure you taste it. I have this on the thickest grind setting it has. So you're gonna get chunks of pepper in your teeth. You'll taste 2 hours later, but it's oh so good. This is much harder than like game streaming because I'm already getting tired, if I'm being honest. Normally when I'm cooking, I'll go sit down and, fuck off for a minute. Okay, so we have pepper. I'm gonna do a bit of ground cumin as well, just 'cause I like the flavor. And we're kind of throwing a bunch of different flavors at this, and we're gonna see what happens. That's what's good about this. It's relatively cheap. You can experiment with it. All right, so this is at a point where we can start mixing it around. Again, we don't want to wait too long and let the meat start to warm up. So we'll just do like an initial chop. We're gonna have to get in here with our hands eventually. This actually needs Worcestershire sauce, which might make it a little over-salted. We're gonna find out. The onions look rather large. This is actually my plan. It's gonna be hard to make the outside of this look nice, but again, we're essentially adding moisture back into it. As this cooks, the moisture from the onions is going to leach out and it will prevent this from getting dry. Another way to do that is to do a coarse dice on like pork belly or some other fatty thing so it leaches the fat out into the meal. Yeah, let's add some Worcestershire sauce, maybe some fish paste or oyster sauce as well. This stuff is pure umami. Honestly, you taste it, you can't really, it doesn't taste like oysters. It is something indescribable. But we're gonna add very little of this, like, that's half a teaspoon, yeah. It's like 3/4 of a teaspoon, or a full teaspoon. And we're gonna add some Worcestershire sauce. I don't actually know what Worcestershire tastes like by itself. I imagine not very good. Tastes like American food, to be honest. Cool. All right, this is about the time that I need to get my hands in there and start squeezing it together. Maybe. Oops. You know, we don't want to do this for very long, so we don't want the meat to warm up too much. It's still really cold right now. This is actually the texture that I was looking for as well. It's almost perfectly emulsified. We'll smooth out the top, and then we're going to put more of the paste with some ketchup on top of it, as well as like a crosshatch pattern. All right, I'm going to wash my hands really quick, and then we're going to prep. Is there even a point in washing my hands? No. I'm about to touch this again. All right, so this is the pan that I'm using. Not really a pan. This is the dish that I'm using from a fantastic Seattle-based, I believe they're Seattle-based cookware company called Anchor Hocking. Does it say where? I think it's Seattle. These are fantastic. They're super sturdy. It's not fueling the machine. I think they're small, made in small batches. Let's dip this out onto here, and then we're going to start forming it into some sort of log loaf. Then we will add some scores on it to increase the surface area and crisping, and then it can go into the oven until it reaches, I'm going to say, because it's a ground beef, I'm going to say 190 maybe. It's gonna flatten out a bit, but this will, having it so tall, is going to allow us to cook it for a long time without drying the inside out, and it will allow the top to almost burn, which I really like. But now we're going to wash our hands because we're done touching this. Okay, hands washed. I'm actually gonna try something really crazy with this too. And for the whole 2 people watching, you're gonna be weirded out by this. But I wanted to try this. Adding ranch powder to the top. We're gonna play around with it. We'll see, we'll probably do like half of it. What's up, baby? You okay? Do you not want the ranch powder? Okay, so for this, we're just going to do a simple kind of deep, relatively deep crosshatch pattern. The onions are kind of blocking us from doing that, but that's fine. Again, we're just trying to create a divot. This doesn't make a huge difference, but it will increase the surface area slightly. And it gives the sauce something to hold on to. We all need something to hold on to at night, you know. Ay, Dios mío. I'm running out of room here. Okay, now that we have a bunch of sideways dashes, we're going to just do a quick diagonal score on them. Down. This is kind of like if you're doing this to like a turkey, this would be like the George Orwell, like nuclear family turkey look. Where the turkey is just super dry on the inside, but you know, looks gorgeous on the outside. Perfecto. It kind of looks like a mash, but again, we're trying to get some surface area on top. We want it to crisp up. Okay, so now we're gonna grab this bowl again. We're going to add some more Worcestershire sauce here. Some of the adobo paste, and some ketchup. A little bit of Worcestershire, decent amount of Worcestershire. Some of this adobo paste. Spoon to retrieve. And then some ketchup. I actually like mustard too, but we're gonna keep it simple for tonight. Where's she at? Oh, down there? Good. I'm actually gonna do honey I was gonna do molasses stir. I was like, yeah, we need some sort of sugar in here. Molasses is an amazing ingredient, and doubly so for on top of meatloaf, but it is kind of a pain in the ass to work with. I feel like Anakin Skywalker with the whole sand thing. I hate sand. It's coarse and dirty and it gets everywhere. What does molasses taste like? Just burnt sugar, right? Alright, let's give it a taste to see where we're at. We're gonna have to add some sort of acid. Yep. Ketchup it is. And then when we're applying this, we're going to apply it a little bit at a time as it's cooking. Uh-oh. Stream just died. Okay. My stream. Refreshing. The network error. Oh, the internet just died? Twitch down? No internet. Okay. Okay. Weird. Sorry, folks. Sorry about that. Okay, we're back. And slightly sweaty. Oh, we shook up our ketchup. We're going to add a bit just to balance out the sweetness from the molasses. And this is going to go on in small increments to the top, in addition to the ranch powder that we're trying out. That's good. I like it. Ooh, that's really good. Nice and salty. Okay, so we're gonna spoon this over. So just a bit. Start out. I don't have a pastry brush right now, so we're gonna just do our best to smear it. A lot of this is going to run down. doesn't have to be perfect right off the bat. I'm gonna make sure there's just enough for it to actually run down as it's cooking. I'm gonna leave a little bit in the bowl, but most of it's going on here right now. All right. So good. Okay, we're gonna do our ranch powder right now because we're heathens. Just honestly the smallest amount. I've been trying to find interesting ways to use this because it is scientifically formulated to be fucking delicious. I don't even know what that taste is. What is ranch? Is it like a specific thing? Okay, so we're only doing the first layer with this. Oops. Very relatively light sprinkling. And we're gonna see how it turns out. You guys don't have to eat this, so. Okay, this is going in the oven. So 400 degrees on the oven. And we're gonna see what's what. All right, now we're gonna strain the potatoes, and then we're gonna start doing the mix-ins, all right here. Okay, potatoes are drained for the most part. We're actually going to mash them up just a little bit, and we're gonna throw them back on the burner so they can steam out. Nifty little potato masher. It's actually, I was concerned with the quality of it. It's kind of on the squeaky side. I'm sure you guys can hear. Okay. Sure, that sounds great. A little garlicky. There's no salt in there, so it doesn't really taste great. We're now just going to put this on low on the burner, and we're going to walk away from it for a little bit. I'm trying to get as much of that moisture out as possible because it's going to honestly ruin the texture of the stuff. And now we kind of can just sit and wait for a minute. Hey, babe. How are your chess games going? What's your win-loss ratio right now? Yeah, 50-50? Your enemy? Is this the guy that keeps on beating you? Me and the wife, I think as everyone else did, picked up playing chess after the Queen's Gambit came out. And he's now made an enemy on live chess. I just hope I don't get beat up by a chess nerd. That's all I'm worried about. Sorry, I'm just writing a Twitter or a Reddit post right now. Hard to get hit by a bot. What's a bot? Not that. Why does it say there's one comment? Cool. Back to it. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. So, where we left off is the meatloaf's now in the oven. We did a mixture of molasses, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, a bit of oyster sauce, some adobo sauce, yeah, with a bit of the chilies, both inside and on top of the meatloaf. We kind of gone a bit ham with the spices, so since the only thing I had was Italian style, rather the only thing the grocery store had was Italian style breadcrumbs, we kind of went with an Italian theme. I am drinking the Empress Gin. It is a delicious purple gin. I'm not sure why it's purple. And we're about to start prepping the mashed potatoes. They've already been boiled. We're going to add, instead of heavy cream, we're going to add some oat milk, a ton of butter, and then salt to taste. It's going to be good. And my beautiful wife's going to come on stream. Come on, you coward. I keep on forgetting that you guys can see my face as well, because I'm just staring at my monitor, like my camera monitor. It's very bizarre. Anyways, okay, so the potatoes have had a chance to steam off a bit. You guys can't really see. There we go. Potatoes have had a chance to steam off really quick. We're gonna bring them back over here actually. And we're going to start adding stuff, namely a whole stick of butter cubed up. Rather, I guess a half stick. Get our half stick of butter, 4 tablespoons. My gin. Oh no. Not the gin. Boy. You can watch TV or something, nobody can see it. Okay. Waiting for me. I mean, you're saying it quietly. I can't hear you. Just kind of doing a slight cube on this, just so it melts faster into the potatoes. Break these up, add them to the pots, and mix them in. You don't want to mix this too much. Okay, put her down. The other one's gone forever. And without a 1/4 tablespoon of butter. We're gonna start mixing this in just a smidge to help it start melting. You gonna come on stream? Did you? Wait, on this camera? No. Hi, this is Mrs. the Wandering Scholar. She is definitely the most beautiful woman in the world, and you should respect her as such. They can't see you. Okay, we added the butter. It is actually, the potatoes cooled down a little bit more than I wanted to, so I'm gonna put them back on the burner for a second. Butter all over my hands. Oh no. And let's take a look at our meatloaf. Okay, cracking it up to 425. It's looking good so far. It's just not. rendering out the fat like I wanted it to. So we're just gonna crank it up a bit. Okay. This is Mrs. the Wandering Scholar. She's short. And she loves to cook. In fact, she's the best cook in the world. I'm under her tutelage. She's also very shy.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Bye. Love you. Don't be a stranger. Honestly, at some point, I would love if you could come in during my intermissions and chat with people. That'd be great. One day. Like today. $15? Is Twitch gonna be around in 15 years, guys? I don't know. Twitch is like 6 years old now, maybe 8. It's about run its lifespan, right? Something new is gonna be created. Of course. Come on camera to try it. No. You gotta come on camera to try it. A key. A key. No. Okay.
Oh, they. Oh.
Hey, where are you going? You gotta try it on screen. Oh, you're such a cheater. He's sipping it on, kind of on screen. The top of her head's on screen. Also, look how overexposed we are. I need to switch this camera out up here. It's such a turd. Ahora que tu mamacita. Así es. Okay. Potatoes. Okay, this is now warmed up enough for me to fuck with it. I fuck with it. I'm hip. We're going to add some of our oat milk, and we will also season this however we see fit. There is garlic, fresh garlic in it already. We're also going to add some garlic powder, because you can never have too much garlic. The garlic powder, yes. Ooh, there's one more. Anything else I want to throw in there? Honestly, I really wanted to try the grainy mustard inside of it, but I'm not trying to add 10 million things. Yeah, garlic powder. I do that all the time. No reason to say sorry. I actually prefer oat milk in my mashed potatoes, and I know that's sacrilege, but we're getting a ton of fat from the butter. Right now we're looking for moisture, and we are looking for flavor, and oat milk has kind of a, I don't know, it's a weird thing. It adds to the starchiness, and it brings, I think, just a deeper, more complex flavor to it, personally. That and cultured butter, but I don't have any of that here. We added a little bit of it now. We're going to mix it together and see what the texture is like, but we're also going to continue to mash it, right? Which we need our masher for. Cool. So, grabbing our masher, and I'm just going to go to town. I still don't know if I like this thing. I want to do the potato ricer, but everywhere is sold out. Apparently, during the pandemic, people really fucking wanted mashed potatoes. No idea why. Oh, okay, that's about as fine the textures we're going to get there. Alright, we're going to stir it up a bit. We're going to taste it, see what kind of seasoning we need to add. Obviously, we're going to need salt because we didn't add any at the beginning. That is looking beautiful. It actually could be smoother, but I don't want to stir it up more in fear of glutenizing it. When you overstir mashed potatoes, they become like library paste. It's very thick, not appetizing. Needs salt for sure. A ton of salt. It's about half a tablespoon and half a teaspoon. Convert that for me. And we're going to add our garlic powder. Decent amount. Again, you want to taste it. And then I like chives, but you don't like chives very much, do you, babe? No? I wonder why. They just taste like onions to me. Like sweeter, slightly sweeter onions. I normally would add chives into this to add some color to it, but we're gonna add some variety with, oh yeah. No, I'll just drink it. But yeah, it adds color variety to it, which we're gonna do with cracked black pepper. When you look at it, I want it to look like a masterpiece. Beautifully complex. Kinda smelly. Certainly made by a drunk man. That's fine. I am now drinking Allagash White. You can see that. I'm almost out of my gin. I love a ton of cracked pepper in my potatoes. All right, let's test for seasoning. Stir this up. This actually needs to be mashed more, if I'm being completely honest. This masher's failing me. Cool, I think we're good. Let's stir this around and give it a taste. This is about as much as I want to stir this. Again, if I stir this anymore, it's just going to turn into paste, which it kind of is already, but I think we're fine. Needs more pepper, but we can add that on top. I think it's perfect. Beautifully salted. You can taste the butter. The butter's coming through very strong. Same with the garlic. This is done. Now I'm going to cover this. And I'm going to put it on the lowest setting my stove has, on the lightest burner. We do not want this to dry out at all. And we're going to cover it. Hopefully prevent some evaporation. Honestly, this camera has dynamic focus, but since I'm moving around so much, that's not really working super well for me. Sorry about that, folks. I had to pretty myself up a little bit. Try to make this camera not look like shit. Is the contrast set to auto? What the hell is going on with that? Because it looks fine after it focuses on me, but it needs to just stay where it's at. Alright, we're at a gym. They're now switching to our Allagash White, which is up there on the tastiest fucking beers on the planet. I'm getting blasted up on Discord, so I'm gonna take a look at that really quick. Nada. Got it. Stop smearing shit all over myself. Work on the stuff that actually matters and take a shower. 10 out of 10. It's a comment that was talked about one of my coaching videos. Okay, let's take a look at our meatloaf. Everyone left, babe. Everyone's gone. It's overzealous. Flew too close to the sun and my wings melted. In this case, we rendered our fat too quickly. It smells good. You want to taste the potatoes? Always. Who am I? Do I want to taste the potatoes? That's good shit right there. More salt? Oh, okay. That tastes too salty to me for some reason. Of course I'll add more salt. No. I'm doing it. I'm adding the salt. You're the co-pilot here. My wife has decided that a good punishment for me when I'm not listening is that she throws snow at me. Because it snowed like 15 inches, 18 inches? 15 inches over the past couple days, or past day. So she's like, yeah, you should add some salt. I'm like, oh, well, it tastes over-salted to me. And I was like, no, I'll trust your judgment. And then she's like, I'll go get the snow. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm actually gonna smooth this out. Buttery, salty, fucking delicious. Too grainy. That thing wasn't working. My masher, I need a potato ricer, like fucking ASAP. It's the only thing that I know is gonna work. Chunky boy, like me, Chunkito. Chunkao. For big chunk. Chunkao, yeah. Portuguese for big chunky. A lot of chunk. Brazilian Portuguese. Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican. Americanese. Chat. Portuguese, yeah, Portuguese. English. Englutese. Who knows? Guy, chat. The nobody that's here. In fact, all of you left when I stopped chopping things. For some reason, apparently people just really want to see chopping. Is my mic on? Am I just fucking up right now? Have I been fucking up for an hour? No, good. That sounds good. It looks like shit. This is my first cooking stream, guys. Come on. Don't worry about it. I think that it looks like shit. We're working on it, though. It happens. I spent months perfecting my game stream. So the cooking stream is going to look like shit. This camera has to go. This camera is the worst. But this... I mean, I can't afford another $1,000 setup for right here. And also, it's wasted here. Maybe I should just flip the cameras. Who knows? So we're waiting for our the top of our meatloaf to caramelize. The mashed potatoes are done and they're delicious. You guys can look at the VOD to see what to see what I did and what order. But yeah, so now we're just waiting for the meatloaf. There is a sugar, kind of sugar. It's molasses, ketchup, oyster sauce, Worcestershire sauce, adobo sauce. And a little bit of salt to add to the salt from the Worcestershire sauce. All mixed together. Oh, and ketchup, sorry. And ketchup. All smeared on top of this. The sugar inside the ketchup and the molasses is going to caramelize on top of the meatloaf while it's cooking. By the time it's caramelized and about to burn, the meatloaf still will not be done. So we're going to continuously lacquer on more layers, and it will create a thick, sugary, crunchy crust to the meatloaf. That is aided as well by the fact that I created scores in the meatloaf to increase the surface area and also help some of the fat drip out, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be delicious. You guys will be able to see it. I cannot give you smell-o-vision, but this apartment smells kind of fucking heavenly right now. I mean, it's a loaf of meat. Of course it's going to smell heavenly. Also, thank you for the follow, Versiform. I appreciate it. I don't have my follower feed on the channel right now, but yeah, I appreciate it. What else? Yeah, so we're drinking Allagash White. I don't know what I need, actually, to make this perfect. And I don't know how we're going to set this up, but we'll figure something out, because I want to continue doing the cooking streams. I want my GoPro right here, hooked into the camera feed. This camera, or maybe the GoPro down, and this camera looking at me. And then I want my phone mounted here, so I can look at chat and the camera at the same time. Because right now I'm spending more time looking down, and that is not engaging at all. I want to, when I'm looking at chat, I want to be looking at the people. Maybe, yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, we're gonna have to figure something out, but it's good. And then you'll come on stream more often. When I put the GoPro or this camera here, the viewing angle's wide enough for them to see you. You got, and the colors will be good. It's gonna be great. And we got to pick a better music source. I wanted to do jazz, or whatever. I'll start advertising this to like Reddit cooking, to whatever. That's why my game ones are so popular, because I like advertise the shit out of myself on gaming streams. But when people see cooking, I'm so far down on the list. I only have 2 people viewing right now. I'm so far down on the list that nobody's gonna see me, right? When I had 5 viewers earlier, and that brought me up to the 3rd page. Unlike Hades, where I'm on the 1st page when I'm playing. So, whatever I do, I gotta figure out how to get on the 1st page at least for this, and that usually means money or time, or you know, posting food pictures on Instagram or something. I'm not sure. Whatever it means, we'll figure it out. Cooking. Yeah, this might be the day, like a Thursday stream. Like, yeah. Monday's a bit hard. Like, I'm usually tired from all the partying we do on Monday. Thursday's probably the best bet. Or the thing is, well, Saturday's bad because most of my viewers are kids on Saturdays. For whatever reason, it's, you know, kids are home from school, they're not working, whatever. So it is beneficial for me to play games, even though I'm marked as an 18 or over channel. Thank you very much, fuckers. But it's probably best suited for video games on Saturday. And then yeah, Thursdays. I think Thursday will be the every Thursday cooking baking stream thing. I make some beautiful food. This is not going to be beautiful food, for sure. Let's be clear about this. But I make some beautiful food. So we can Instagram post it. Yeah. So this is very easy for me to do. Let's do this more often. It's slightly engaging content. More than slightly engaging. Look at that. Oh my gosh. You guys can't see this. I don't think, can I tilt this up? Ay, Dios mío, so tight. Oh, and it... Yeah, I'm aware. Stop disconnecting about this. Oh, there's a short in the cable, are you kidding me? Shut up, shut up, shut up. It's a brand new cable. Look at that, it's beautiful. Cool, okay, we're just gonna keep this not there. I'm gonna go back to the point where I'm not afraid I'm gonna rip the cable out of the wall. We'll figure our setup out soon, chat. I promise. Ow, I'm burning my leg. It's too hot. That look alright? It's not straight anymore. I spent like half an hour straightening the camera out before I seem to have lost that straightness. Okay. Now we're gonna lacquer this with more of our sauce. We don't have a ton more, but we have enough. Really just give it a nice coat and prevent the top from burning. Oh yeah. I have so many cameras I could easily create a stove cam. I'll tape onto the ceiling, I don't know. It's gonna be spicy and sweet. Mmm. Actually, I need. David, I need you to do me a favor. I have to pee. I need you to talk to chat about your favorite food of all time. Don't even be on camera. You're on the camera. I'll marry you. Oh wait, I already married her. This is going back in the oven again. The oven is at 415 right now. I reduced it from the original 425 that I do. This oven's a piece of shit, and I think that it's really like 450 right now. And it was getting close to burning. The fat. You don't want to burn the fat. Essentially, it's deep frying in the bottom, deep frying the meat and the onions on the bottom because the fat is dripping out of the meat. Deep frying the bottom, and there's a real risk of burning all that sugar that you added to the top as it soaks down, and the meat that's there. And that's something that you don't want to do. It'll create some acrid flavors. It will, yeah. It's something that happens, I think, every time. Like the first time you make meatloaf, you'll burn the shit out of the bottom. Because you're worried about it. Everyone, buy a meat thermometer and pay really close attention to your temperature. If it is not coming up to temp fast enough and the top is burning, reduce your temperature. It will still caramelize that sugar while giving the center a chance to come up to temp. For whatever reason, sometimes it has to do with convection ovens and whatever. Yeah, you're fine. My wife is a cougher. Neither of us have a fever, and also she just got tested for COVID. She's not positive. But apparently she has allergies or something. Thank you. Okay. We're going to actually do something funny here. Good one. Okay, we're going to switch to an overlay here.
about different cultural recipes for the 18th century, Germany or Dutch recipes. Those are both asked for, and we just luckily ran into some folks at a recent conference. We were at a Living History Museum conference out in New York State. We ran into some folks from Old Salem. Karen Absher, Kayla Kavanaugh. They're working on translating a couple of German cookbooks. Cookbooks that likely would have been in the Moravian community there in North Carolina. And so they are translating some of these recipes. They gave us this cookbook. It looks like a lot of fun. So
this is one of my favorite channels on YouTube. Townsend Cooking.
Many years in the past. So I'd love to go and visit Old Salem.
I'm going to leave this on. I'm actually about to step out for a second while we wait for the meatloaf to caramelize. We're going to take one final look, and then we're going to close off for the night. And I promise when we come back next Thursday for the cooking channel, we're going to look a lot better. We're going to sound a lot better. I'll have my camera set up properly so you can see me. Next Thursday is Christmas Eve. Are you working Christmas Eve still?
This recipe
until 5. Okay. I won't be working Christmas Eve. So Thursday, we're going to move our stream back a couple hours. I'll do a cooking stream. Then I will make, I think I'm going to make the holiday bread, the German holiday bread. What's it called? Stollen on Thursday. I'll make the Stollen. We'll have some drinks. We'll chill out. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I actually need to prep that for one full day before. I need to make the marzipan before, and I need to have the dough rising before. So the day before, we'll have a small 1-hour stream. So Wednesday, sometime that I'm free, probably lunchtime, we'll do a small 1-hour stream where I prep everything. I candy the fruit, I add the alcohol, whatever, and then we use, I think I'm gonna use a sourdough for it to see how it tastes. But yeah, we'll prep it, and then we'll do a full stream where we bake it and we eat it with maybe some boozy eggnog on Christmas Eve. You cool with boozy eggnog? Yeah, it's gonna be good. Okay, let's take a look at our meatloaf, and then I'm gonna step out for a second, folks.
The ratios, the ingredients, again, like most of these recipes from the 18th century, it isn't precise. Let's mix up a little bit and get this good and mixed. And now we are going to add some butter here. This is probably about 8 ounces of butter. We don't need all of this. We're going to work with about 4.
In a weird way. I mean, like, somebody who makes meatloaf all the time can make like a perfectly shaped one. But again, like my goal was to have the large chunks of onion inside of it, leaching moisture out. And the large chunks obviously messed up the surface. Maybe one day I'll find a way to add moisture. Maybe gelatin actually inside would add moisture, because gelatin, the gelatin matrix will legitimately hold on to water until it gets so hot that it squeezes it out. Might be a good way to keep it moisturized, or soft. Not sure. Anyways, I'll be right back, folks. I have a video on there that I should probably.
You want to make sure to continue stirring the entire time. You don't want it to burn. You don't want it to stick, and you don't want it to get lumpy. So when this stuff starts to thicken up, it thickens up in a hurry. It went so fast we couldn't catch it on the camera. So watch it. You want to make sure to continue to stir it the whole time, though, so you get a very, very consistent batter here, or lump as we get in the end. So this is good and really thickened up. The next stage is to actually get some eggs into this. So let me set this aside. It's going to stay warm for us. Let me get some eggs and get them mixed up here. I've got 6 eggs in here. I'm going to get them whisked up so that we can start to mix in here. Now, we may not need all 6 of these eggs, but I want to have enough. Our eggs are whisked up. Let me set these aside. Let's bring our dough back in here. This is going to be a challenge. I don't want to mix all these in. I want to try to get to the right consistency. This is all about not precision measuring, but precision consistency, right? So we're just going to add in about half these eggs and start going. So this is looking like a real mess, right? It looks like it's never going to mix in properly, but we just have to keep at this. This will mix in eventually. If you've got a mixer, this will actually work a lot faster. we're just gonna keep looking at this. So as you can see, it's starting to mix in here. It did not take that long. It wasn't that crazy. And we've got a nice kind of a thick batter here. If we were making this into a certain sort of pastry that we would bake in the oven, we were already gotten too thin. But for what we want, it's still a little too thick. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of our eggs. And I'm just gonna continue to stir this up until it gets silky smooth, then it'll be ready. Okay, so this smoothed right out for us. This particular pastry, or cooked pastry, is ready to go. Now, what are we gonna cook with it? What are we gonna do with it? We could possibly just cook it right into our hot fat, and we could make something like a funnel cake. Maybe we'd cover it up with sugar or something else. But we're gonna do something else a little more special with this that's particular to this particular recipe book. And that is, we're going to take homemade cooked bratwurst. You definitely want to make sure the bratwurst is already cooked for this particular recipe, because the heat isn't going to get all the way and penetrate to it's not going to cook this bratwurst. So we've got some cooked bratwurst, and as the recipe says, we're going to slice these guys up. They're nice and long, so I'll slice them up in half, and then in half again, so we have sort of 4 pieces for each one of these, and they divide up nicely. I'm just going to toss them right into a pot. Let's take these over to the fire. Our fat is nice and hot over the fire here, hopefully not too hot. We're using just very standard old lard here. And I'm just going to take this, and it's very well coated, you can see this, and just put them right in there. You try just 1 or 2 to start with. See how they go. Well, as you can see, these guys have turned out and they look wonderful. And of course, they smell wonderful, and I'm sure this bratwurst is going to be really good. Let's give them a try. They really kind of puffed up nicely, and they really have a great look to them. Incredible, great, wonderful flavor. Of course, we've got this wonderful bratwurst in the middle. You can't go wrong. But we have this great, a complementary pastry that's cooked around it. And it's not a sweet pastry. It is a sweet, savory pastry in this circumstance. It doesn't have sugar in it or anything like that. So it really covers this, and it works really well. But I mean, if you think about it, we could do so many different things with this batter. And some of the recipes talk about these other things that we could put with it. Sometimes we just take this batter, and apparently you rolled it in things. If it's a little bit thicker, you could roll it in breadcrumbs and fry it like that. Or you could roll it in, say, the boiled eggs that have been crumbled up. And I think of something like, what happens if instead of bratwurst, we took cheese and we put it, and then we coated it and fried that in there. Whoa, that would be a great kind of take on this same concept. So we could even do this with fruits, and the cookbooks even mention something like elderberry, but we could probably use other kinds of fruits and sweeten this up and maybe put sprinkled sugar on top at the same time. So it's a very versatile kind of batter or dough, and you can do a lot of different things with it. And this is, hey, it's right out of the 18th century, and probably quite typical of something that you would find in a German-influenced culture household right here in North America. So I really want to thank the folks at Old Salem and the fantastic translation work they're working on right now to bring some of this available to those folks that don't have all the knowledge of, understanding the 18th century German cookbooks. So it is great to have folks that are working on those kinds of things. So I really want to encourage them, thank them so much for making this kind of thing available to us so that we can interpret it and understand it and try it out. Definitely a wonderful, this is really one of those great ones. Everyone here is kind of trying to decide whether this is one of the very best ones we've ever done. So it's a great one. I really want you to try this one out. It is not terribly complicated at all, really, very few ingredients. All these things are available. and you could easily cook this at home. It is a great one, a good one to try out. Also, if you're in that North Carolina area, that's the Winston-Salem, North Carolina area, Old Salem, the historic site there, a tremendous site. There's a lot of great buildings and so much research, wonderful people there. So make sure to check that out if you're in that area or you're going to that area. I highly encourage you to check that out. I want to thank you so much for coming along with us today, trying out these new things, testing them out. We're experimenting. We're savoring the flavors and the aromas of the 18th century. So today's main ingredients are sirloin and bacon. What could possibly go wrong? Thanks for joining us today. So we've been working through this series. We're trying to understand North American food today, and we're going back into history, and we're looking at these other cultures that influence our cooking today. This recipe is from 1787. It's from a German cookbook, the kind of cookbook that possibly German immigrants would have brought with them, and you can definitely tell it's related to our cooking today. Let me read to you this recipe. Now this is translated. It's translated by the folks down at Winston-Salem, at the Old Salem site. They've done a tremendous job. They've got a couple of these cookbooks, and they're kind of translating through them. I'm not sure if this is published yet, but we've got one of these pre-works here. So let me read to you. This one's actually called Roast Sirloin in a Sauce. And I'll just read to the top part. We'll get to the sauce later on. You will thickly cut some bacon and ham. In a dish, lay the...
We're back, folks. We're going to make another drink. I think I'm going to go whiskey and water. Seeing water. This can actually go... I recommend everyone get a bunch of kitchen towels. I think I bought like 50. It has drastically reduced my consumption of paper towels. You just wash them. These ones are bleachable. You just wash them. I use them to store like semi-dry goods like cookies. I use them to cover my sourdough starter. Obviously, you can wipe stuff down with them, especially the super absorbent ones like this. And yeah, I mean, it's just good for the environment, man. Do it. Get it. And these ones are plastic free, so when you wash them, they're not, dumping plastic into the oceans. Good stuff. Right here, we're going to take a look at our meatloaf after I get some more gin. Yeah, we'll go with a different gin this time. I don't want to mix alcohols. Is my audio coming through fine? Yeah, but we have no music. ¿Por qué? That no. They can't hear it at all. Cool. All right, we're gonna add some ice or glass. 2 cubes. This is a 2-cube day. Yes, it is. Because it's cold outside. Let's do 3 cubes then. Some yellow snow for me. Yeah. Oh my god, this is so blunt. This camera right here is the worst. $30 I've ever spent in mine. That's bad. Look how red I am. Yeah, but like my hand's red, and look how tan it looks. Yeah, figured it out. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, we're going with Hendrick's Midsummer Solstice. It is beautiful stuff. Unfortunately, it is not midsummer anymore. I think we will survive. Summer solstice, not midsummer right now. I'm also, I bought it because I was afraid after this year they'd stop making it. Hey, let's do a little review on this Midsummer Solstice because I need something to talk about. Nose? Oh yeah, what does it smell like? Yeah. So it has normal gin smell to it, right? Like right off the bat. But what comes in towards the backside is not just juniper. I'm thinking maybe lavender, maybe like orange peel, like grapefruit maybe. It just very distinctive summer smell. But I've had this before and I don't think that it had the same taste, right? And this is without dilution yet. The ice hasn't really melted. Honestly, it's just like lavender, or what I would imagine like, I don't know, it just tastes like a field of flowers to me. It's very refreshing. It's not as bitter as some gins can be. Let's check the temp. We're gonna check the temp on our meatloaf really quick. I just saw it. Okay, we're using an instant read thermometer to take the temp on our meatloaf. You're looking for, I think, 190°C. I'm gonna look it up in a second after I measure it. When you're measuring something, I know you can't see me right now. When you're measuring something, you wanna make sure that you get to the very center of the thing that you're measuring. You don't want it to be too close to the bottom because you're gonna read artificially high. And the same for the top. The dead center is what you're looking for. And the best way to go about that is to go to the center of the thing and then go at a diagonal, right? So you're going diagonal down into the meat. About halfway, you have to kind of guess to see where the edge is. If it's something really weirdly shaped, like a ribeye, you measure it on the outside first and then you push it in. This is not so precise. Is that reading 90? Away from the thing. Okay. Now is it 106 degrees in here? I'm pretty sure it's not. Six ghosts? Yeah. I see 4, but yeah, yours is more up to date than mine. Yeah, so I see 4, but Streamlabs container is more accurate than Twitch's. And I can't see the Streamlabs one, but yeah, there are some, probably 2 or 3 are bots, and then the rest are people that are watching without talking. Oh, 6? Yeah, I don't think 6 is watching anymore. I think he left, but yeah. 6 is really cool. He was part of my stream way back in the day, but he's a kid. He's a kid. He should not be on my stream because I drink. But yeah, it just updated for me. Now we're at 6. Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah. So. We were just talking about some of the old viewer base. I still have, so I used to stream back in the day. Lean in so you can talk to me. I used to stream back in the day. And I had a relatively huge following, a couple 100,000 views on YouTube. And we still got some time on this. We're at 1:30 right now. Okay, we still got some time on this, folks. This is something you can't cook to a medium rare. With ground meat, you just... let's talk about food safety for a second. when you have a steak, it is safe to cook it to. When you're cooking a steak, it is safe to cook it to a medium rare because the outside, which is relatively, it has access to germs. Rather, germs have access to the outside. You can have microbes from the air, salmonella, whatever. You're cooking that outside and killing anything that's in it, right? With a ground meat, it sits around for a little while and you grind it. You grind the outside to the inside, so all of those bacteria are now getting to the inside of the meat. At that point, any ground meat, you want to make sure that you're cooking it to a certain temperature. If it's very fresh, like you would do with a burger, you can still cook it to a medium rare, but that's still a higher temperature than you would cook a steak to. Steak tartare, for instance, you cut off the outer edge and then you dice it up. It's relatively safe because the germs that would accumulate from the point where you dice it up to the point where you deliver it to a customer aren't dangerous. And you're getting rid of any of the dangerous germs either by washing the meat, although there's a bunch of scientific papers saying that doesn't help, or by cutting it off. It's not dangerous at all. But this, there's no discretion in the way that they grind it. They just take meat that could have been sitting out for hours and they grind it all together. So you want to make sure that you cook it to, instead of like 124 Fahrenheit for a rare, you're trying to go for like 160, 170, something like that. I'm going to look up I don't know, I usually cook to 160 or 170, but I don't make meatloaf that often. So let's look up meatloaf internal temp. Meatloaf internal temperature, 160, yeah. So I was thinking 166, 170. Actually, we're gonna crank it down. Oh, we're already at 400. So with this, we're going higher than what would normally be like a medium rare steak because we need to make sure we kill whatever pathogens end up on the inside of the meat. There are a lot of other ways to do that as well. So if you're making something like ceviche, which is diced up fish, you kill any potential bacteria both by freezing the fish. You should always buy frozen fish, preferably flash frozen, so something that's frozen on the boat. And then make sure, and then you add acid to it, which starts to chemically cook the meat in addition to killing some, or preventing some bacteria from forming around it. It's also delicious. Eat ceviche. There's a fantastic bar, I think it's called Piro Ceviche, here in Boston. They have an amazing, it's not a spicy margarita, it's a margarita that has they fill the bottom of the cup with peppers, and then they mix in peppers with the drink throughout. So the first couple drinks you get just blow your face off with spice, and then they the sourness from the lime that you get after cools it down. Oh, it's delicious. And then they have this red snapper ceviche, which you didn't try, I don't think, but it is to die for, honestly. And they have the super crispy chips. We had tuna ceviche, yeah. Okay, so we still have about 30 degrees on the meatloaf, which is a while. We're going to make sure that the mashed potatoes aren't drying out. They are not. Oh yeah, they got smoother. Or crank the temp up on those a little bit. I'm gonna feed my wife this beautiful spatula full of mashed potatoes. They're delicious. And terrible for you. That's good shit, folks. I don't care who you are. That is on low, medium, low. It's on 1. I'm trying to keep them warm because the meatloaf is taking a while. while not drying them out. If I were to turn it on high, it would just dry the shit out of them. It would fry the bottom, which might be delicious if you added oil, but it's not what we're going for. We're going for something super creamy, a little bit of bite from like slightly undercooked potatoes, super salty, super buttery. Again, I like bacon or chives, maybe bacon and chives in my mashed potatoes. I know you love bacon. The wife loves bacon. Everyone loves bacon. But we're not doing that today. This is super simple. The meatloaf is the star of the show. And hopefully it's not terrible because I forgot to do a test patty of it. Oh, that's interesting. So whenever you're doing like a mixed meat, like a meat puree type meal, whether it's sausage or meatloaf or, you know, something else, to make sure that you have your seasoning right, you should, before you throw it in the oven, take like a tablespoon of it and turn it into a small patty and fry it up in some olive oil really quick in a pan. Nothing super fancy. What you're trying to do is you're trying to taste what the seasoning will taste like after you cook it. I've been cooking for long enough that I can tell how much salt is needed, both in liquid form like the Worcestershire sauce and in solid form. That I can just dump it on. But when you're first starting out and you're making, meat pureed based stuff, whether it's pate, which is a fantastic thing to make, Chef Steps has a great video on it, or if you're making meatloaf or tartare, not tartare, just taste the tartare. Just cook it up first in a pan. It's good. And, you'll be able to judge whether or not you need to add something to reduce the salt or, add more salt. I don't actually have a good recommendation on reducing the salt if you add too much salt. You could make it taste less salty by adding something sweet, but that might not be what you want. I don't know. Adding just straight up, I guess if you were to make a meatloaf too salty, you could add potato, like add unsalted mashed potato to it. At that point, you're diluting the salt. It's less salt per square inch of food, which will just make it taste less salty. But that's something you need to experiment with. And generally speaking, just as you add salt, make sure to do test patties. Just keep a pan on like medium low while you're adding your spices, while you're mixing it up, and test often. That way you're gonna have something perfect. You're gonna have something, while it's missing the sweetness from the sauce, you're gonna have something that is going to taste good at the end. Actually, I was talking to Mrs. The Wandering Scholar about this. I bought a shit ton of spoons, like a lot of spoons, because I taste my food often, like very often, like every couple minutes. I'm dipping in my case, it's the same spoon, but working in a restaurant, it would be a new spoon every time. But I'm dipping the spoon in, I'm taking a taste, adjusting for seasoning, adjusting for texture, whatever. But again, it goes on to that core tenet that this is something that you're learning to do. And if you're doing anything else, like if you're learning how to do math, you're testing yourself constantly. So why would you not do the same with cooking? Practice, make sure you taste as often as possible and adjust as often as possible. See what you did wrong, and write it down. I have not anymore, but when I first started cooking, I had multiple notebooks full of recipes that I tried to make that failed. I only really wrote down the failures, not the successes. But yeah, recipes that failed, I would say what I did, why I think it failed, and what I could do to fix it, right? And then when I made it again, I would just keep that in mind, and not in I'm not shitting on myself, right? But you have to know you have to have a goal that you're focusing on as you're improving on any skill, right? Instead of just saying, I'm going to improve this skill, just say, this is what I did poorly last time. This is what I'm going to focus on this time, and it's going to be perfect. Like in journaling, let's say you are trying to learn how to stamp your journal. The first time you make a mistake, it's all right. the next time that you do it, you look and see what you did wrong. You look at the pages that you did before, and you overcome those issues. It's not something, you're not trying to berate yourself. You're trying to incrementally improve yourself. It's something that you did poorly last time, and it's certainly not something that you're going to do poorly twice, or 3 times or 4 times, whatever. Some things take forever to learn, like carpentry. But yeah. Otherwise, if you look at something like cooking and say, oh well, I fucked this up. I burnt the salmon. I can't even cook a hamburger. Whatever. You're looking at your issues holistically, and the only result of that is going to be, for one, you're being dishonest with yourself, and you're not going to improve at all. You're blocking yourself from improvement because anxiety, I guess, is probably the best answer. So saying like, all right, this is the problem that I had. I'm going to fix this one single thing. I'm not going to oversalt my next meal. I'm going to pay very close attention to how I salt this. And then, yeah, something else might be off, but you'd be like, no, this is perfectly salted. And be happy with that. Be like, it might be a bad meal. It might be a bad game. It might be a bad page in my journal, whatever, but you fix the one thing and you're never going to fuck that up again. You'll remember the problems that you had and the ways that you solved them. Yeah. Anyways, let's test the meatloaf. We're looking for 160. We're at 133 last time we looked. Spicy meatball. Something that maybe isn't as useful in COVID times, but in general, learn how to smell for when your food might be burning. This is not, but let's say I was making cookies. I burnt myself, folks. Let's say you're making cookies. You can kind of smell, even from the oven, when they're starting to singe. Ooh. I now have no fingerprint. I could be a man in black. All right, we're looking for 160 here. I know you guys can't see this. I will fix the camera issue soon. Last time we checked, we were at 133, 143, 56, 58. This is not instant read, man. All right, we are at 156 right now. That is, I'm going to call done. Let's move this over and grab a trivet. The trivet fell behind the fridge. Grab the other trivet. And this, our bowls and garbage out. And once I clean up, I'm gonna grab this and we're gonna take a look, folks. It honestly looks beautiful. I love burning myself. My favorite. This is the thing you've all been waiting for, all 5 of you. So dark. This looks dark for both of you. It's not as dark as it looks. It's actually like a brown color, so the ketchup and everything is caramelized. We're gonna let this cool down for a little bit. I pulled it out at 155. It's gonna come up another couple degrees. Actually probably like 10 degrees on the inside. And it will be about 165-ish, 170. At that point, we'll slice it. It will have hardened, not hardened, but it will have become dense at that point. And we can do a slice and you guys can see what the inside looks like. The inside ideally is filled with onions. Actually, you can kind of see it on the camera here. The onions that were exposed actually browned up a ton. They fried themselves. But again, for people that weren't here in the beginning, the point of these onions, even though it makes the whole thing look messy, there are large uncooked pieces of onion in there that are going to leach moisture out as it's cooking and it's going to lead to, in my opinion, a softer, more tender, more moist meatloaf, right? You can do the same thing. I was actually kind of riffing with the wife, Mrs. Wandering Scholar, about adding gelatin. You can do the same thing. Gelatin will create a matrix that holds in moisture that then releases it out as the chain is broken. You can do the same thing, right? The goal is for a meatloaf, as the fat drips out. Again, this pan was empty when I put this in. As the fat drips out, you need something to keep it moist on the inside because all that fat's gone. Yep. Yeah. So with the onions, they are both going to break it apart. So when we cut into this, it's going to fall apart. I like that. It's going to have a crispy crust from the sugar, from the molasses and the ketchup. It's going to be spicy and it's going to be... Okay. I'm in the picture frame. It's going to be a bit spicy, bit sweet, bit acidic from the tomatoes. And the Worcestershire sauce, I think, is a little acidic, but maybe that's just my tongue. Yeah, it's not pretty, and you can certainly find prettier meatloafs, but it's going to be salty and sweet and like umami-y and delicious. Yeah. I'm going to plate this up for you guys too. For anyone who is still watching, there are 4 of you on here. We're going to plate this up for you guys with some of the mashed potatoes, and we'll see what you guys think. I'm going to add chives to mine because I have a garden right next to me. It's like an indoor garden, and I have 1,000,000 pounds of chives. Four people watching. Ooh, blistering autumn already. I got folks. Yep, look at that. I had a hole in my towel that I didn't realize. We're taking Instagram photos for the community Instagram. This is, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen this before, or seen this channel before, this is the first of many cooking streams. In the future, we'll be continuing to do cooking streams every Thursday, and they'll be a variety of time based on how long it takes to cook, but at least it'll be 2 hours. This one is 3 hours and 8 minutes. Next Thursday, I'll be making Stollen, which is a German Christmas or holiday bread. But I'll be making a variety of things. I'll be doing polls, both on Instagram and Twitter, for what to make, what to drink while I'm making it. Right now, I am drinking Hendrick's Summer Solstice Gin, and we're gonna have a ton of fun. Yeah, let's. This is probably all set by now. Ow. Spicy meatball. I'm gonna run this under cold water. Yeah, we'll see what I make. I cook constantly, so we'll have fun with this. And we're going to be changing up the cameras, so we'll have 2 good cameras instead of this shitty camera looking at my face. Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, we're going to cut this up, and we're going to plate it up. Incredibly hot stuff. Sassing me. Honestly, like, I wouldn't say no to making a gravy with this fat, but I've never put gravy on a meatloaf before. And just for maximum perfection, we're actually going to cut in the center. Slowly. 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 Lost a chunk, babe. Or chunk down. Okay. I'm going to take a view of the other side. Instagram must flow. You want to cut on this side? Oh, no. I mean, I was going to cut this side. Yeah. No, you don't have to go on that side. All right. Let's take a look at the inside. You guys should be able to see this chat. It's still incredibly soft on the inside. You guys can't see that.
Take that can out of the
This is a terrible looking Instagram photo. No, that's good. That's good. Let's take it. Take it, take it, take it. Looks good on this camera, though. Let's plate it up for the 2 people that are watching still. I think it's just bots now. This is the hardest part, and that's why my honestly perfect amazing wife has taken on the job of doing at least half of the Instagram part of the social media, because it's the pain in the ass. Can I video you doing a taste test? No, not immediately. I'm gonna see if you like it first. Good. Let's play this up for you guys, and then we're gonna end this stream. Huh? Spicy? Too spicy? I only put a little bit in there. A little bit went a long way. That's spicy as shit. 3 peppers, too many. Got it. Okay, let's play this up. We're gonna do this original piece. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna make sure this is front and center. All right. I don't know how many people are watching right now, because I know that's not accurate. We are plating up now. Is a great, slightly important part. Not the most important part of food, but it is important. I need a spoon, actually. Okay, a bit of potato here. We're going to smooth it over. Smooth it over. We're going to do a smear from the edge, and then we're going to wipe off the edge, as we are not Neanderthals. And we're going for rustic here. So as home style as we can imagine. I'm getting covered in the sugary insides of chives right now. How sugary that is. That actually means that it's about to flour, which I don't want. Ideally, this would actually be smaller, but this is perfect. This is your plate. This is home-cooked food. Eat my ass. Let's go. Thank you very much, chat. I appreciate it. This is the end of the stream. We're gonna go eat. Ciao.
Wow.
Do you see it? Yeah. Ciao.